One of the most important features of the SKS wasn't its very good gas operation system, it was its cartridge, the 7.62 by 39.
This is the rifle that arms the Honor Guard detachment at Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum in Hanoi, and it's the rifle that arms the Honor Guard detachment at Jose Marti's mausoleum in Santiago de Cuba. From Serbia to Syria, from Bulgaria to Budapest, it is still a ceremonial rifle, the SKS 45, what we simply refer to as the SKS. An icon of the era of the Cold War, with roots stretching back 75 years to the closing chapter of World War II history.
One of the most important aspects of the SKS Carbine is not the gun itself, it's its cartridge. This is the M43 cartridge. We know it today as the 7.62 by 39. Up until this time, infantry cartridges were in the 30-06, 7.62 by 54, or 8mm Mauser class. The U.S. Army in particular was very interested in long-range marksmanship, and this entire process was short-circuited by actual combat results. And that led the Germans to develop the 7.92 Kurz and the gun we call today the Sturmgewehr, the STG-44. Well, the Russians captured quantities of these on the Eastern Front, and they took the lesson away that maybe we don't need a full power cartridge. So they developed the cartridge and then had designers develop guns around this cartridge.
The SKS, lightweight, rugged, and dependable. Part of that dependability stems from the fact that it uses the short stroke gas piston operating system with a tilting locking bolt. Its success with Soviet fighting forces will ultimately lead to it being produced by just about every other nation that's a part of the communist bloc during the Cold War. It is manufactured in Russia, China, Bulgaria, Romania, and Yugoslavia, and Albania. The firearm is made by a vast number of countries, and it's manufactured in vast numbers. It's even manufactured in Vietnam. And when we think of the war in Vietnam, we typically think of American fighting forces confronting either Viet Cong or North Vietnamese fighting forces armed with a Kalashnikov, when in actuality, they were just as frequently armed with the Chinese version of the SKS, the Type 56. And so, in this way, the overall battle history and contribution of the SKS 45 is something that falls into the shadow of the Kalashnikov that's so successful that follows it.
Once production of the Kalashnikov went full bore, the SKS, at least in the Eastern Bloc, was reduced to paramilitary units, to police use, and just as a second-line rifle. Where you really see the SKS today, though, is in the hands of American shooters and collectors.
There was a time there when they were coming in cheap. You could buy one for under $100, and they threatened to replace the 30-30 as the archetypical pickup truck rear window gun. Just a good, reliable gun, and popular. And there are variations of them a collector can collect too. Now those days of $100 SKSs are long behind us, but you can still find a good SKS for $400 or so, and for a reliable semi-automatic rifle with reasonable accuracy, firing a reasonably effective cartridge, that's a pretty good deal.
The sporting versions are especially interesting because the sporting versions went through a series of modifications to include one that interests me a lot, the SKS-D, the para model. And that is the standard SKS action, where they have deleted the internal 10-round box magazine in favor of the mounting fixtures for the Kalashnikov type magazine. So you have the outward appearance of an SKS with Kalashnikov magazines, so you can put magazines in capacity from 5 rounds, 15 rounds, even 30 rounds. They're reminders of a bygone era when the ideologies of East and West clashed during the Cold War. And they also just so happen to be a firearm that is great to collect and enjoyable to shoot.